The emergency lights painted everything red on Trading Station Harmony 7. Quilvin pressed all four of his hands against the control panel, trying to stop them from shaking. Through the security feeds, he watched another empty corridor. Somewhere in those dark passages, the creature was waiting. His communication device blinked. Another station was calling, probably to ask if they should send help. Quilvin knew what they really wanted to know. They wanted to know if Harmony 7 was lost, if they should write it off and leave everyone here to die. 3 weeks ago, a cargo ship had docked. Standard procedure, the crew unloaded containers of goods from the outer systems. Nobody checked Container 73 carefully enough. By the time anyone noticed the breach, it was too late. The rift claw was loose. Quilvin had seen pictures of rift claws before. Every species in the galaxy knew about them. They came from Dracon 4, a world so hostile that even the plants could kill you. Rift claws were apex predators there, 4 meters long, covered in armored scales, claws that could tear through steel, and worst of all, they were smart. Smart enough to hunt in patterns, smart enough to learn. The first security team went in with full gear, military-grade weapons, shields, armor. Only one came back out, screaming about how fast it moved. The second team was larger, better prepared. They found pieces of the first team. Then the Rift Claw found them. The third team refused to go in at all. They took their ship and left. Station Harmony 7 had 40,000 people on it. Traders, families, workers, all of them trapped. The Rift Claw had made its home in the maintenance levels. Every day it got bolder. Yesterday it had come up to the residential areas. A family barely escaped. Today might be worse. Quilvin had sent 73 requests for help. 73 rejections came back. Too dangerous. Too expensive. Not worth the risk. The Galactic Council suggested evacuation, as if they had enough ships for 40,000 people. As if the Rift Claw would just let them leave peacefully. Then one response came back. Different from the others. It was from Earth, the human homeworld. Quilvin had heard of humans. Everyone had. They were the newest species to reach space. Primitives from some backwater planet who barely understood quantum mechanics. Their world was classified as a Class 12 death world, the kind of planet where everything was trying to kill everything else. Most species avoided Earth. The humans who left it were considered reckless at best, insane at worst. The human message was simple: one consultant, reasonable fee, no guarantee of success. Quilvin almost deleted it. One consultant? For a Rift Claw? But what choice did he have? He accepted. That was 2 days ago. Now the human ship was docking. Quilvin made his way to the docking bay. Other station personnel came with him. Merchants, security officers, officials. All of them wanted to see what kind of fool would accept this job. The docking clamps engaged with a heavy thud. The airlock began its cycling process. Quilvin felt his hearts beating fast. Maybe the humans would surprise everyone. Maybe they would send a team of warriors, special weapons, advanced technology that could track and kill the Rift Claw. The airlock door opened. One human stepped through. He was tall by human standards, but average compared to most galactic species. He wore simple brown clothing. On his back was a large pack. In his hands he carried what looked like scanning equipment. No armor, no plasma weapons, no military gear at all. The human looked around the docking bay, then walked toward Quilvin. His face was calm, almost relaxed. "Administrator Quilvin?" the human asked. His voice was quiet. "Yes," Quilvin managed to say. "You are the consultant?" "David Warren." The human extended one hand. Quilvin knew this was a human greeting gesture. He touched his own hand to the human's palm briefly. The human's skin was warm, soft, no natural armor at all. "Where is your team?" Quilvin asked. "Just me." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Someone laughed. Not kindly. "This is a Rift Claw," Quilvin said slowly. "You understand what that means?" 3 professional security teams failed. 18 beings are dead, David nodded. "I read the reports. That's why I brought this." He tapped his scanning equipment. "And this." He touched his pack. "That's tranquilizer equipment," one of the security officers said. He was from the Kelvorian species, large and covered in thick scales. "You plan to tranquilize a Rift Claw? With doses made for Earth animals?" "Modified the formulas for Dracon 4 biochemistry," David said. "Took some research." The Kelvorian officer made a sound like grinding rocks. Laughter. "This is what Earth sends? One soft skin with sleep drugs?" Others joined in the laughter. Quilvin felt shame burning through him. This was his solution. This primitive human. David waited for the laughter to stop. His expression never changed. "Can I see the attack sites?" he asked. "You'll want to rest first," Quilvin said. "Prepare yourself." "I'm prepared," David adjusted his pack. "The longer we wait, the more dangerous the Riftclaw becomes." She's stressed. Unfamiliar environment. That makes predators unpredictable. Quilvin repeated. The reports mentioned the attack patterns, the nesting behavior and the maintenance levels. The aggressive territorial response. Classic maternal protection instincts. David pulled out a data pad. "I'd like to interview the survivors too. Get a better picture of her behavior." Quilvin stared at the human. He had called the Riftclaw her, not it, her, as if the creature was a person, as if she mattered beyond being a threat. "You think you can reason with it?" the Kelvorian officer asked. "Speak to it politely?" "No," David said simply. "But I can understand her. That's the first step." More laughter. More mockery. The human ignored it all. He was already studying his datapad, reading through the reports with complete focus. Quilvin made a decision. A foolish one, probably. But what other option existed? "Follow me," he said to David. "I'll show you everything we have." As they walked through the corridors, station personnel moved away from the human. Some whispered. Some pointed. All of them looked at David like he was already dead. David didn't seem to notice. He walked calmly, studying everything. The walls, the floor, the ceiling. Taking in details. "The maintenance access is this way," Quilvin said. They reached a large sealed door. Warning signs covered it in 12 languages. David placed one hand on the door. Behind it, somewhere in the darkness, the Riftclaw waited. "Tomorrow morning," David said. "I'll need these levels cleared of all personnel. Just me going in." "That's suicide," Quilvin whispered. David smiled slightly. It was a strange expression. Not afraid. Not arrogant. Something else. Something Quilvin couldn't name. "I've done this before," David said. "Different predators. Same principles." He turned and looked at Quilvin directly. His eyes were brown, soft eyes. Eyes that had no business belonging to someone about to face a Riftclaw alone. "She's scared," David said quietly. "Everything she knows is gone. She's trapped here. When animals are scared, they fight. But fear can become trust. It just takes patience," Quilvin wanted to argue, wanted to call this madness. But something in the human's voice stopped him. This wasn't bravado. This wasn't ignorance, this was experience. "I'll arrange the clearance," Quilvin heard himself say. David nodded. "Thank you. Now those survivors, I'd like to hear their stories." As they walked away from the sealed door, Quilvin couldn't shake one thought. The entire galaxy called humans weak, primitive, reckless, but this human showed no fear. Only purpose. Maybe, Quilvin thought, the galaxy didn't understand humans at all. David sat in the small room with the survivor. Her name was Telson, a young trader from the Vorak species. She had purple skin and large eyes that kept darting toward the door. Her hands shook as she held a cup of water. "Take your time," David said softly. He kept his distance, sitting across the room. His body language was open, non-threatening. "It was so fast," Telson whispered. "We heard stories, warnings, but we needed to get supplies from storage. That section was supposed to be clear." "What did you notice first?" David asked. He had his data pad ready but didn't look at it. He looked at Telson. A smell. Like earth after rain, but stronger. Then we heard breathing. Heavy. Like machinery but alive. Telson's cup rattled against her teeth. My partner ran, I froze. The creature came around the corner. "Describe her movements." Telson's eyes went distant, low to the ground. Muscles under her scales moved like water. Her head swept side to side. She was smelling us, tasting the air. "Did she attack immediately?" "No." Telson looked surprised by her own answer. She stopped, looked at us. Her eyes were yellow. Smart eyes. She made a sound. Not a roar. Something else, and like what? David leaned forward slightly, like a question. Telson set down her cup. Then my partner screamed and threw something at her. She moved so fast. One moment she was there. Next moment she had him. By the time I ran, he was already gone. David nodded slowly. He made notes now. The sound she made, before your partner screamed. "Can you make it?" Telson tried. It came out as a low rumble mixed with a clicking sound. "Thank you," David said. "That helps a lot." He interviewed 6 more survivors. Each story was similar. The Riftclaw was fast, dangerous, but something else stood out. Something nobody else seemed to notice. She only attacked when threatened, when someone ran, when someone made aggressive moves. David spent hours reviewing security footage. The cameras in the maintenance levels were damaged, but some still worked. He watched the Riftclaw move through the corridors, watched her investigate rooms, watched her gather materials, building a nest. His datapad showed biological information about Riftclaws. They lived in family groups on Dracon 4. Females gave birth to 3 or 4 young at a time. They were fiercely protective. The maternal instinct was so strong that Riftclaw mothers had been known to fight off predators 3 times their size. David pulled up the cargo manifest. Container 73. Origin Dracon 4. Listed contents, mineral samples. Actual contents, 1 juvenile Riftclaw tagged for the exotic pet trade. Illegal. Cruel. And it explained everything. This wasn't a monster. This was a mother whose child had been stolen. The juvenile had probably died in transport. The mother escaped, confused and grieving, into a space station full of strange creatures. Of course she attacked. She was protecting herself. Looking for her baby, found something. David looked up. Quilvin stood in the doorway. "She's looking for her offspring," David said. He turned his datapad around, showing the manifest. This was a smuggling operation. Someone stole a juvenile. The mother must have been nearby when they took it. She followed. Quilvin's antenna twitched. "That's speculation. It's behavior analysis." David stood and stretched. His back made small popping sounds. Every action she's taken fits the pattern. The nest building. The territorial aggression. The fact that she doesn't hunt for food. Security reports say she hasn't eaten any of her victims. She kills them. She eliminates threats. There's a difference. David walked to the window. Outside, the station continued its normal operations. People going about their lives. All of them trying to pretend there wasn't a creature in the walls that could kill them. On Earth, we have animals called grizzly bears. Massive predators. They can tear a human apart easily. But most attacks happen for one reason. What reason? The bear has cubs nearby. She thinks you're a threat. She's not hunting you. She's protecting her babies. David turned back to Quilvin. This Riftclaw is the same. She's a protective mother in a world she doesn't understand. Every creature here looks like a threat to her. Quilvin was quiet for a long moment. Even if that's true, how does it help? She still killed 18 beings. It helps because it means she doesn't want to kill. She wants to survive. She wants to protect. David grabbed his pack and checked the contents. Tranquilizer gun, sedative darts, medical supplies, food rations. Fear is easier to work with than aggression. You plan to go in tomorrow? At dawn, when she's least active. David sealed his pack. I'll need the maintenance levels completely cleared. No security. No observers. Just me and her. That's insane. Maybe. David smiled that strange smile again. But I've calmed frightened animals before. Relocated problem predators. Rehabilitated injured wildlife. This is bigger, sure, but the principles are the same. Riftclaws aren't Earth animals. Predators are predators. Mothers are mothers. Intelligence is intelligence. David met Quilvin's eyes. The galaxy thinks humans are weak because we don't have claws or armor or natural weapons. But we survived a world full of things that wanted to eat us. You know how we did that? Quilvin shook his head. We learned to understand them, to predict them, to see patterns in their behavior. We couldn't outrun the predators on Earth, we couldn't outfight them, so we outsmarted them. We learned their languages, their habits, their fears. David's voice was soft but firm. This Riftclaw is scared and alone. I speak that language, and if you're wrong, then I die. Probably quickly, David shrugged, but I'm not wrong. I've seen the footage. Read the reports. Talk to survivors. She's a mother. I know how mothers think. Quilvin's translator struggled with something in David's tone. There was pain there. Old pain. You lost someone, Quilvin said quietly. David was silent for a moment. My mother worked with wildlife. Elephants in Africa. Magnificent creatures, smart, emotional. Family groups led by matriarchs who remembered everything. Remembered grudges. Remembered kindness. He looked out the window again. A poacher killed a calf. The mother elephant was wounded trying to protect it. My mother stayed with that elephant for 3 days. No weapons. No barriers. Just patience and empathy. The elephant let my mother treat her wounds. Let her grieve with her. What happened? The elephant survived. Returned to her herd. My mother said it was the most important thing she ever did. Teaching me that lesson. David picked up his pack. Understanding isn't weakness. Empathy isn't surrender. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is see the world through another creature's eyes. Quilvin felt something shift in his perception. This human wasn't reckless. He wasn't ignorant. He was something the galaxy had forgotten how to be. Compassionate. I'll make sure the levels are cleared, Quilvin said. Thank you. David headed for the door, then paused. One more thing. I'll need food, raw meat, about 20 kilos, and water. Fresh water, for the Rift Claw. She hasn't eaten in days. Stress does that to grieving mothers. Makes them stop caring for themselves. David looked back at Quilvin. If I want her to trust me, I need to show her I understand what she needs. After David left, Quilvin stood alone in the room. Through the walls, he could feel the station around him. 40,000 lives depending on one human with a pack full of sedatives and empathy. The galaxy called humans weak. But standing there, Quilvin wondered if the galaxy understood what strength really meant. Dawn on a space station meant nothing. The lights dimmed on a schedule, simulating day and night, but there was no real sunrise. Still, David waited until the station reached its quietest hour. When most people slept, when the Rift Claw would be least alert, he stood before the sealed maintenance entrance. Behind him, Quilvin watched from a safe distance. Security feeds would show everything. The entire station would see what happened next. David checked his equipment one final time. Tranquilizer gun loaded, medical scanner on his belt, the bag of raw meat sealed in a container that kept the smell contained. For now, last chance to reconsider, Quilvin said through the communicator. David touched the door panel. Open it! The door hissed open. Darkness waited beyond. The emergency lighting was down here, casting red shadows that made everything look like blood. David stepped through. The door sealed behind him, silence, complete and heavy. David stood still, letting his eyes adjust. The maintenance level stretched out in a maze of corridors and machinery. Pipes ran along the walls. Equipment hummed quietly. Somewhere in this darkness, the Rift Claw waited. He opened the container of meat. The smell filled the air immediately. Sharp, organic. On Earth, this would attract predators from a long distance. Here, in the recycled air of a space station, it would spread even faster. David walked slowly. His footsteps were quiet but not silent. He wanted her to hear him coming. Surprise was the enemy here. Surprise meant fear. Fear meant violence. Every few steps he paused, listened. The station had ambient sounds, air circulation, power systems, water pipes. David filtered through them, searching for something different. There, breathing. Slow and deep. The sound came from his left, deeper into the maintenance section. David turned that direction. He kept his movements smooth, predictable. His heart was beating fast, but he controlled his breathing. Animals could smell fear, could sense panic in body language. The corridor opened into a larger room. Equipment storage. Shelves lined the walls. In the center, the Rift Claw had made her nest. David saw her before she saw him. She was bigger than he expected. 4 meters, maybe more. Her scales were dark green, almost black in the low light. They caught the red emergency lighting like armor plates. Her claws were as long as his forearm. She was magnificent. Her head lifted. Yellow eyes locked onto him. Her body tensed. David stopped moving. He kept the meat container visible but didn't raise it like an offering. Not yet. First, he needed her to understand he wasn't a threat. The Rift Claw made a sound. Low rumble mixed with clicking. The same sound the survivor had described. A question. David spoke softly. I know you don't understand the words. That's okay. Just listen to the tone. Her head tilted slightly. You're far from home. You're scared. You lost your baby. David kept his voice gentle, calm. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry that happened to you. The Rift Claw rose to her feet. Her muscles rippled under the scales. She was between him and her nest. Protective positioning. David slowly lowered himself to the ground, sitting cross-legged, making himself smaller, less threatening. He placed the meat container in front of him and opened it fully. The smell intensified. The Rift Claw's nostrils flared. Her tongue flickered out, tasting the air. She took one step forward, then stopped. "It's okay," David said. "I brought this for you. You haven't eaten in days. I know, I've been watching. Mothers forget to eat when they're grieving." Another step forward. Her eyes never left David. She was calculating, deciding. David waited. Patience was everything now. Rush this and he would die. Push too hard and she would attack. This moment required absolute stillness. The rift claw moved closer. Her claws clicked on the metal floor. David could see details now. Scars on her scales. Old wounds. She had fought before. Fought and survived. She stopped just 2 meters away. Close enough to strike. Close enough to kill him before he could react. David didn't move. The rift claw lowered her head. Sniffing the meat. Then sniffing David, her breath was hot. Smelled like earth and rain, just like the survivor said. "That's it," David whispered. "I'm not here to hurt you." She pulled back slightly. Looked at him. In those yellow eyes, David saw intelligence. Saw confusion. Saw grief. "Your baby is gone," David said softly. "I can't bring your baby back. But I can help you. I can get you home. Back to Dracon 4. Back to your world." The rift claw made another sound, softer this time, almost a whimper. David felt his chest tighten. This creature had traveled across space, probably in a cargo hold, following the scent of her stolen child, had arrived on a station full of aliens, had fought and killed to protect herself, and now she was alone. "You're a good mother," David said. "The best kind. You fought for your baby. Nobody can ask more than that." The rift claw moved again. This time she circled around David, giving the meat a wide berth. She was going back to her nest. David heard scraping sounds, movement, then she returned. In her jaws she carried something carefully, a piece of cloth, torn and blood-stained. It smelled like the juvenile, the baby she had lost. David felt tears in his eyes. He blinked them away. The rift claw placed the cloth near the meat. Then she looked at David, waiting. "You want me to understand?" David said. "You want me to know you had a baby?" She lowered her head, pushed the cloth slightly toward him. David reached out slowly, touched the cloth with one finger. "I understand. I see you. I know what you lost." The rift claw made that soft, whimpering sound again. Then she began to eat the meat. Not aggressively, not like a starving animal, carefully taking small pieces. David stayed sitting. Didn't move. Let her eat. Around them, the maintenance level was silent except for the sounds of her eating and the hum of machinery. Time passed. David wasn't sure how long. Could have been minutes. Could have been an hour. When the rift claw finished eating, she looked at David again. Some of the tension had left her body. Not all, but some. "Tomorrow I'll come back," David said. "I'll bring more food. More water. We'll do this slowly. Build trust." The rift claw watched him stand. Watched him walk backward toward the exit. She didn't follow. Didn't attack. At the door, David paused. "You're not a monster. You're a mother. The galaxy doesn't see the difference. But I do." He left. The door sealed behind him. Quilvin was waiting. His face showed shock. "You sat with it, with her. You just sat there. She needed to see I wasn't a threat. She could have killed you." "Yes." David's legs were shaking now, adrenaline leaving his system. But she didn't. Because she understood what I was offering, safety, understanding, food. This is insane. This is trust. David walked past Quilvin. "Tomorrow I'll go back. We'll continue building the relationship. It'll take time." "How much time?" David paused. "However long it takes. You can't rush trust, especially not with a grieving mother." Behind them, through the sealed door, the rift claw returned to her nest. For the first time since arriving on this strange station, she had eaten. For the first time, she had met a creature that didn't attack her. That saw her pain. In the nest, she curled around the piece of cloth that smelled like her lost baby. And for the first time in days, she slept without keeping one eye open. On the other side of the door, the galaxy watched through security feeds. Watched and tried to understand what they had just witnessed. A human sitting calmly before an apex predator. Speaking softly. Offering food, they called it madness. Called it luck. Called it impossible. But David called it the first step. 3 days passed. 3 days of David entering the maintenance levels alone. 3 days of the galaxy watching something they couldn't explain. David brought food each time. Different kinds. He learned what she preferred. brought water in large containers, brought materials she could use for her nest. Soft fabrics, warm things. Each visit lasted longer. The first day, 20 minutes. The second day, an hour. The third day, David sat with the Riftclaw for 3 hours. They didn't do anything special. He just sat. Sometimes talked. Sometimes stayed quiet. Let her get used to his presence. The Riftclaw began to anticipate his visits. Would wait near the door, not aggressively, expectantly, like she knew he would come back, like she trusted he would return. On the fourth day, David brought something different. A medical scanner. Quilvin watched through the security feeds. Watched David enter the maintenance level like he had done before. The Riftclaw greeted him. Not with aggression, with that rumbling sound that meant recognition. "Today I need to check something," David said to her. He showed her the scanner. Let her sniff it. "I won't hurt you. I promise." The Riftclaw watched the device carefully. Her body language showed caution but not fear. David moved slowly around her. The scanner beeped softly as it worked. He was checking her biology, her health. Looking for something, the scanner showed results on his data pad. David read them carefully. His expression changed. "Oh no," he whispered. The Riftclaw sensed his distress, made a questioning sound. David looked at her. Really looked at her. At her body. At the way she protected her nest. At behaviors he had noticed but not fully understood. "You're still pregnant," David said softly. The scanner confirmed it. 3 life signs inside her. Small. Developing. The Riftclaw hadn't lost one baby. She had lost one baby and was carrying 3 more. Everything made sense now. The intense territorial behavior. The nest building. The protective aggression. She wasn't just grieving a lost child. She was protecting the ones still coming. David sat down heavily. "You came here because they took your first baby. But you're about to have more. That's why you fought so hard. That's why you killed anyone who came close." The Riftclaw moved to her nest, circled it 3 times before settling down. Her tail wrapped protectively around the space she had created. David pulled up information about Riftclaw reproduction. Gestation period was 90 days. The scanner showed these babies were at 75 days. She would give birth in about 2 weeks. "Maybe less. We need to get you home," David said. "Before they're born, you need to be on Dracon 4, in proper environment, with proper food and water and safety." The Riftclaw looked at him. Those yellow eyes held understanding. She knew something was wrong. Knew her babies were coming. Knew this place was dangerous for them. David stood and walked to her nest. This was a risk. A huge risk. The nest was her most protected space. But he needed her to understand what he was planning. He knelt beside the nest. Slowly reached out his hand. Stopped just short of touching it. The Riftclaw tensed. "I want to help," David said. "I want to get you home. To your world. Where your babies can be born safely." She watched his hand. Watched his face. Making a decision. Then she did something that made David's breath catch. She moved slightly. Gave him access to the nest. Permission. David placed his hand gently on the nest materials. Felt the warmth there. "The care she had taken building it, I promise," he said. "I will get you home. No matter what it takes." The Riftclaw leaned forward. Her massive head came close to David. So close he could see the individual scales. Could count her teeth. Could see the ancient intelligence in her eyes. She touched her snout to his hand. Gentle. Careful. Trust. David felt emotion overwhelming him. This creature, this mother, was trusting him with everything. With her life. With her babies' lives. "I won't let you down," David whispered. He spent another hour with her. Used the scanner to check the baby's development. They were healthy, strong, but they needed their homeworld, needed the specific environment of Dracon 4 to develop properly. When David finally left the maintenance level, he went straight to Quilvin's office. Burst through the door without announcing himself. "She's pregnant," David said immediately. 3 babies. Due in 2 weeks. Quilvin stood up so fast he knocked over his chair. "What?" "The smugglers took her first offspring. But she was already pregnant with more. That's why her behavior was so extreme. She's not just a grieving mother. She's an expectant mother protecting her unborn children." "How do you know?" David showed him the scanner results. "These are life signs. Inside her. 3 distinct heartbeats. Quilvin looked at the data. His antenna twitched rapidly, a sign of distress in his species. If she gives birth here on the station, the babies won't survive. Maybe a few days, maybe less. They need Dracon 4's environment. The humidity, the temperature, the specific bacteria in the soil. Without it, they'll die. We can't transport a rift claw across the galaxy. Yes, we can. David pulled up star charts on Quilvin's display. Dracon 4 is 6 days away at standard speed. 3 days if we push. We need a cargo ship. Large one. Environmental controls. I'll stay with her the whole time. That's impossible. No captain would accept that cargo. Then we make it possible. David's voice was hard, determined. I didn't come here to half-solve this problem. I came to get her home. And that's what's happening. Quilvin stared at the human. The soft creature with no claws. No armor, no natural weapons. But right now, David looked like the most dangerous thing on the station. I'll contact the shipping companies, Quilvin said finally. No. Contact the Galactic Wildlife Protection Agency. This is an endangered species trafficking case. They have authority to commandeer ships. That will take days. Then we have days. David looked at the clock. Her babies come in 2 weeks. We need to be on Dracon 4 in 1 week. To give them time to stabilize her. Prepare proper birthing environment. You're asking for a miracle. I'm asking for what's right. David met Quilvin's eyes. You called me here to solve a problem. I'm solving it. But the solution isn't killing her. It's saving her. Quilvin worked through the night. Made calls, sent messages, used every connection he had. The Galactic Wildlife Protection Agency responded faster than expected. They had been tracking the smuggling ring, had suspected exotic rift claw trade but couldn't prove it. David's evidence proved it. The stolen juvenile, the pregnant mother, the illegal transport. Within 12 hours, a specialized transport ship was en route. Captain Rivesh, a Corvorian with experience in dangerous cargo, volunteered. His ship had environmental pods. Could be configured for Dracon 4 conditions. David went back to the maintenance level. Brought the rift claw fresh food. Sat with her. We're going home, he told her. You're home. Where your babies can be born safely. The rift claw made a sound. Different from before. Almost like a purr. Like contentment, she understood. Somehow across species barriers, across language, she understood. David reached out slowly. Placed his hand on her scaled head. She leaned into the touch. You're going to be okay, David said. All 4 of you. I promise. On the security feeds, the station watched. Watched a human touch an apex predator gently. Watched the predator accept it. They had called humans weak, primitive, reckless. But watching David with the rift claw, they began to understand. Strength wasn't always about claws and armor. Sometimes strength was about keeping promises, about protecting those who couldn't protect themselves, about understanding that a mother's love was universal, regardless of species, and humans, for all their soft skin and lack of natural weapons, understood that better than anyone. The transport ship arrived 2 days later. Captain Rivesh brought his crew to the docking bay. They set up the environmental pod with precision. Temperature controls, humidity regulators, even special soil from Dracon 4 preserved in stasis. The pod is ready, Rivesh said. He was tall, with feathers instead of hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. But I need to ask, are you certain you can move her peacefully? David stood in the docking bay looking at the pod. It was large, comfortable. Everything a pregnant riftclaw would need for the journey. She'll come with me. You say that with confidence. I've earned her trust. She knows I'm helping her. Rivesh made a clicking sound with his beak. Doubt. Riftclaws don't trust. They hunt or they hide. This one trusts. David picked up a container. Inside was her favorite food. Watch. He walked to the maintenance level entrance. Quilvin had cleared the entire route from there to the docking bay. No personnel. No obstacles. Just empty corridors. The door opened. David stepped through. The riftclaw was waiting. She had been pacing, agitated. She knew something was changing, could sense it. When she saw David, she calmed slightly, made her greeting sound. Today we leave, David said softly. He showed her the food container but didn't open it yet. Today we go to your home. He walked backward slowly, toward the door. The riftclaw followed. They emerged into the corridor. The Rift Claw hesitated. This was beyond her territory, beyond her safe space. Her body tensed. David opened the food container. The smell drifted to her. Come on. Trust me. She took one step, then another, following David through corridors she had never explored, past doors she had never seen. All the while, David kept talking, kept his voice gentle. Your babies need Dracon 4, need real dirt under their claws, real air in their lungs. I'm taking you there, taking all of you home. They reached the main concourse, the large open space in the station center. Normally it was crowded with traders and travelers. Now it was empty, but windows lined the walls. Behind them, hundreds of station inhabitants watched. The Riftclaw saw them, saw all those faces, all those alien species. She froze. David stopped too. This was the critical moment. Too much pressure and she would panic. Would attack. Would run. He turned to face her fully, spread his arms slowly, making himself vulnerable. It's okay. They're just watching. They won't hurt you. I won't let them. The Riftclaw looked at David, at the crowd behind the windows, at the long corridor ahead. Then she made her choice. She walked forward, stayed close to David, used his body as a shield between her and the Watchers. They crossed the concourse together, David walking calmly, the Riftclaw following so close her scales almost touched him. Behind the windows, absolute silence. Every being on the station watched. Watched a human walk freely with an apex predator. Watched the predator choose to trust him. A young alien child pressed against the glass. Small, maybe 4 years old by human standards. The child waved. The Riftclaw's head turned, focused on the child. For a moment, tension returned to her body. Then she made a soft sound, almost gentle. Her maternal instincts recognized another young life. Not a threat, just a child. She looked away. Kept following David. They reached the docking bay. The environmental pod waited, open, inviting. David led her to it. This is your space for the journey. It has everything you need. Soil from your world, the right temperature, the right air. The Riftclaw sniffed the pod entrance. Her tongue flickered out, tasting. She recognized something. Home. She entered the pod carefully, explored every corner, tested the soil with her claws. It was perfect. David followed her inside. The pod was large enough for both of them. He had made sure of that. I'm coming with you. The whole trip. You won't be alone. The Riftclaw looked at him. Then she did something that made David's heart stop. She lowered her massive head and rubbed it against his chest. Gentle, affectionate, like a cat, like a dog, like any creature showing trust and gratitude. David placed both hands on her head. You're welcome. You're so welcome. Captain Ravesh watched from outside the pod. His doubt was gone, replaced by awe. I've never seen anything like this. Close the pod, David said. Let's get her home. The pod sealed. Inside, environmental controls activated. The air changed, became humid, warm, like Dracon 4. The Riftclaw settled into the soil, began arranging it, creating a nest. Her movements were calmer now, more natural. She was preparing for her babies. The ship departed an hour later. Quilvin stood in the observation deck watching it leave. Around him, station personnel gathered. All of them had watched the walk, had seen David cross the concourse with the Riftclaw. He just walked with it, someone whispered. Like it was nothing. Like they were friends, another said. Humans are insane, a third voice added. But there was no mockery in the tone. Only respect. Quilvin touched the glass. Not insane, understanding. They understand things we forgot. What things? That strength isn't about force. That intelligence isn't about technology. Quilvin watched the ship become a distant point of light. They remember what it means to live alongside predators. To respect them. To see them as more than threats. On the ship, David sat in the pod with the Riftclaw. The journey would take 3 days. 3 days of keeping her calm, comfortable, safe. The Riftclaw was already asleep. Her breathing was deep and steady. One of her claws rested near David's leg. Not threatening. Just touching. Maintaining contact. David leaned back against the pod wall. He was exhausted. The past week had drained him, but it was worth it. He thought about his mother, about the elephant she had saved, about the lesson she taught him. Understanding isn't weakness. His datapad beeped. A message from Earth, the Outer Colonies Commission. They had heard about his success. About the Riftclaw. About the walk through the concourse. The message was simple. 5 more contracts. 5 more impossible situations on other stations. Problems nobody else would take. Dangerous creatures. Desperate circumstances. David smiled. He looked at the sleeping Riftclaw, at this magnificent mother who trusted him with her life and her babies. Looks like we started something, he whispered. The Riftclaw's ear twitched in her sleep, like she heard him, like she understood. Through the pod's window, stars streamed past. They were going home, a human and a Riftclaw. Different species, different worlds, but connected by something the galaxy was only beginning to understand. Trust, and trust, David knew, was the strongest force in the universe. Stronger than claws, stronger than armor, stronger than any weapon, because trust required courage, required vulnerability, required seeing past fear to find understanding. The galaxy called humans weak because they had soft skin and gentle hands. But right now, crossing space with an apex predator sleeping peacefully beside him, David knew the truth. Humans weren't weak. They were strong enough to be gentle, brave enough to be kind, smart enough to choose understanding over violence. And the galaxy was about to learn what that really meant. Dracon 4 appeared in the view screen like a green jewel. The planet was covered in dense forests. Mountains rose from the surface like teeth. Rivers cut through the landscape in silver threads. It was beautiful and dangerous. A world where only the strong survived. David had been awake for the entire 3-day journey, sleeping in short bursts, always keeping watch over the Riftclaw. She was restless now. Her babies were coming soon. Very soon. We're entering orbit, Captain Revesh announced. The Galactic Wildlife Protection Agency has a team waiting. They've prepared a sanctuary zone. David touched the pod's communication panel. How long until we land? 2 hours, maybe less. The Riftclaw paced the pod. Her movements were uncomfortable, labored. She made sounds David hadn't heard before. Pain sounds. She's in labor, David said quietly. We need to land now. We're moving as fast as regulations allow. Forget regulations. Her babies are coming. If we don't land soon, they'll be born in this pod. David looked at the Riftclaw. She was suffering. She needs proper ground. Proper environment? Revesh was quiet for a moment. Then his voice came back harder, more determined. Hold on. I'm taking us down fast. The ship shuddered as it changed course, entering atmosphere at speeds that weren't quite legal, but necessary. David knelt beside the Riftclaw. Almost there. Almost home. Your babies will be born on real ground. I promise. She looked at him with those yellow eyes. Pain filled them. But also trust? Complete trust. The ship's landing was rough. David felt the impact through the pod. But they were down. On Dracon 4, home, the pod doors opened. Warm air rushed in. It smelled like earth and rain and growing things. Smelled like life. The Riftclaw lifted her head. Recognition flooded her body language. This was her world. Her home. David stepped out first. The sanctuary zone was perfect. A clearing surrounded by dense forest. A stream ran nearby. The soil was rich and dark. Natural nesting materials everywhere. The Galactic Wildlife Protection Agency team waited at a distance. They wore protective gear, carried monitoring equipment, but they kept back, giving space. The Riftclaw emerged from the pod slowly. Her legs were shaking, but when her claws touched the soil of Dracon 4, she made a sound. Joy. Pure joy. She moved to the clearing center, began digging, creating a nest with desperate urgency. Her babies were coming now. No more time. David stayed close but not too close, giving her space but being available, ready to help if needed. Dr. Sirius, the agency's lead xenobiologist, approached David carefully. We have medical equipment, monitoring systems. Should we intervene? No, let her do this naturally. Only help if something goes wrong. You've done incredible work, bringing her here, earning her trust. I just understood what she needed. David watched the Riftclaw work. Everyone saw a monster. I saw a mother. The Riftclaw's labor lasted 3 hours. 3 hours of David sitting nearby, speaking softly, offering encouragement in a language he didn't understand but clearly felt. The first baby came at sunset. Small, covered in soft scales that would harden over time. It made a tiny sound, a squeak. The mother immediately cleaned it. nuzzled it, encouraged it to breathe. The second baby came 20 minutes later, stronger than the first. It squirmed immediately, searched for its mother. The third baby took longer. The mother was exhausted. David could see her strength fading. "Come on," David whispered. "One more. You can do this." The rift claw pushed, strained, made sounds of pain. The third baby came, smaller than the others, weaker. The mother tried to clean it, tried to make it breathe, but the baby wasn't responding. David moved without thinking, crossed the space between them. "Let me help." The mother looked at him, looked at her dying baby. Then she did something that shocked everyone watching. She pushed the baby toward David, asking for help. David picked up the tiny rift claw. It was barely the size of his forearm, not breathing. Its scales were pale. He cleared its mouth gently, rubbed its chest, applied the gentlest pressure. "Come on, little one, breathe." Nothing. David put his mouth near the baby's snout. Breathed gently once, twice, 3 times. The baby jerked, coughed, took a breath. David felt tears running down his face. "There you go. That's it." He placed the baby back with its mother. She immediately pulled it close, began cleaning it vigorously. The baby squeaked. Weak but alive, all 3 babies were alive, all healthy. The mother gathered them close to her body, protected them, loved them. David stepped back. His whole body was shaking. From exhaustion, from emotion, from relief. Dr. Sirius approached. "That was remarkable. You saved its life. She asked me to. How could I refuse?" The rift claw looked at David. Her babies nursed. Her body relaxed for the first time in weeks. She was home. Her children were born on proper ground. Everything was as it should be. She made a sound. The same sound she had made when David first sat with her. But different now. Warmer. Full of meaning. "Thank you." David understood. "You're welcome. Take care of them. Raise them strong." He turned to leave, to let her have this moment with her family. But the rift claw made another sound. Urgent. David stopped, looked back. The rift claw stood carefully, leaving her babies for just a moment. She walked to David, towered over him. Then she lowered her massive head, touched her snout to David's forehead. Gentle, deliberate, a blessing, a promise, a bond that would last forever. David placed his hand on her snout. "I'll check on you. Bring food sometimes. Make sure you're okay," she rumbled softly. Then returned to her babies. David walked away. His job was done. But he knew he would return. Knew this connection wasn't temporary. 6 months later, David returned to Dracon 4. The rift claw's babies were growing strong. She was teaching them to hunt, to survive, to thrive. When she saw David, she called her babies to her, introduced them to the strange, soft creature who had saved them all. The babies sniffed David curiously. Not afraid. Their mother had taught them. This one was safe. This one was friend. Back on Station Harmony 7, Quilvin received reports from across the galaxy. 17 stations had requested human consultants for predator problems, for dangerous situations, for impossible scenarios. Humans were no longer dismissed as weak, no longer mocked as primitive. They were sought after, respected, valued, because the galaxy had learned something important, something that changed everything. Humans came from a world so dangerous that it taught them to understand danger itself, to see past teeth and claws to the creature beneath, to find common ground with predators, to choose empathy when others chose violence. The galaxy had weapons, had armor, had technology, but humans had something more powerful. They had the ability to see a terrified mother in a monster, to recognize grief in aggression, to offer trust to creatures that could kill them, and in a galaxy full of strength that made humans the strongest of all. David stood on Dracon 4, watching the Riftclaw teach her babies to climb trees. They tumbled and fell, got up and tried again. Their mother watched patiently. Encouraged each attempt, David smiled. This was why he did this work. Not for recognition, not for payment, for moments like this. Families together, lives saved, understanding achieved. His communication device beeped. Another contract, another impossible situation. A void serpent on Station Delta 9 killing crew members. Security teams failing. David looked at the message, looked at the Riftclaw family, then back at the message. One more job, he said to the Rift Claw. She looked at him. Understood somehow. She rumbled. A sound like encouragement. David packed his gear, said goodbye to the family he had saved, and headed back to the stars, because the galaxy needed what humans could offer, not weapons, not force understanding, and David would keep offering it. One impossible situation at a time. One frightened creature at a time. One life at a time. They had called humans weak, had mocked them, had dismissed them. But now, when danger came, when creatures threatened, when situations seemed impossible, the galaxy knew who to call. They called the humans. The soft ones. The ones without claws or armor. The ones who walked beside monsters and called them friends. The ones who were strong enough to be gentle, brave enough to understand, wise enough to choose empathy over violence, and the galaxy was better for it.